For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
It's Sunday Morning on CBS, and here again is Jane Pauley.
Oprah Winfrey delivered a much-acclaimed speech on behalf of the Time's Up campaign at last Sunday night's Golden Globes. A 60-minute special contributor since last fall, she takes stock this morning with other members of the movement. We're delighted to welcome her to Sunday Morning.
Hello, ladies. Beautiful.
Right there. Even before the first award was handed out at last Sunday's Golden Globes, the Time's Up campaign had already won the night. Time's Up, which began as a meeting of Hollywood women last fall to address sexual harassment in the workplace, has become a movement for victims everywhere. Stars wore black as a sign of unity, and for one dazzling moment, the fight against harassment and gender inequality was center stage. But now what? On a rainy Southern California day after the Globes, we gathered some of the women who helped start it all. So who is the head of the group? Is it an organization? Is it a group? Is it a movement? Is it a campaign?
At this moment, it's a campaign. And we're all sort of workers among workers and women among women sort of rolling up our sleeves and doing whatever sort of comes to the forefront.
How do you get things done with no leader?
Well, we're women.
And what exceptional women they are. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, the force behind the Star Wars movies. Mega producer Shonda Rhimes, creator of hit TV shows including Grey's Anatomy and Scandal. Entertainment attorney Nina Shaw. And actresses America Ferrera, Natalie Portman, Tracee Ellis Ross, Reese Witherspoon. Beyond raising awareness, how is this going to help the waitress, the farm worker, the factory worker, the caregiver?
We have to maintain the momentum of this conversation because they can't. It's not only in what we're doing with a group like Time's Up, but it's in the content we're creating, the conversations we're having. We have to continue this work because we do have the spotlight.
They also have the money. The $16 million Time's Up Legal Defense Fund can help harassment victims get a lawyer if they need one. There's so many men and women now who are uncomfortable in their workplaces because of all that's been uncovered and aren't just really sure how to be. What do we say to them?
We're humans. We're all humans. And I think it's treating people as fellow humans. And it's not because you have a daughter that you respect a woman. It's not because you have a wife or a sister. It's because we're human beings. Whether we're related to a man or not, we deserve the same respect. We have an instinct about how to treat our fellow human beings.
Were there those of you who joined because you were also a woman who could say, me too?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Speak to that, Reese.
Me too. I have been very open that I was assaulted. It's important that people know that silence. I
assaulted at 16 on one of your first movies.
Yes.
Yes.
The first time I actually heard from Reese was after I had posted my Me Too message.
Remind us of what you posted.
I posted vaguely about an incident of when I was 9 years old being assaulted by a man who I was then sort of forced to see afterwards for a long time. And what struck me about my experience was his certainty that I would be silent. And he was right. Mm-hmm. He was right for 24 years.
Did you all see on Golden Globes that Sunday, Dylan Farrow tweeted about Time's Up, saying that when she came forward about her alleged abuser, Woody Allen, 4 years ago, that she thought his time was up. I think he was getting the same award that I received. And she says she thought his time was up, but it wasn't. And she asked, is time really up now? What would you want to say to her?
I hope so. I'll be honest, I don't know about anybody else, but I hope so.
I'd like to believe the time's up for silence.
Yeah.
We can start there.
I believe Dylan. I would want to say that. I believe you, Dylan.
It should be noted that Allen has denied Dylan's allegations, and following 2 investigations, no charges have ever been filed against him. Still, the larger issues remain.
I think a big part of this too is not just changing the written rules, but the unwritten rules. And I think what we are experiencing right now is a tectonic shift underneath our feet, and where women and men are feeling like we can no longer not say the truth. And when the truth is said, there is maybe a ripple in our culture right now that is going to allow for there to be a change.
I feel like there's like a constructive fury that has resulted in a resolute pursuit of equity. Like there's like this, as you said, that tectonic shift, and then like something has galvanized that we're all like, this is not just my hurt, this is more than my hurt. This is not just my anger, this is our anger. And instead of it just being a feeling, it's becoming an action.
I've heard the confusion about the difference between, people are afraid to even say there's a difference between inappropriate behavior, inappropriate comments, and sexual assault, and sexual predators, and rape. There is a difference.
There is a difference, but there's a culture that one part of it supports the other. There's an understanding of consent and respect that I think has gotten very confused in our culture, that has set up a space that can make all of that happen.
You know, in my business, in my law firm, several people have come to me and said, I just don't know what to say, I just don't know what to do. And I said, you know the difference between right and wrong. Is it a conversation that you would be comfortable going home at night and telling your wife or your mother that you had? If you are uncomfortable in telling them about this conversation, then
you shouldn't have it.
You shouldn't have it.
Do you think some men need some relearning?
Oh, yes. And also the thing that's always surprising to me, I am a strong, outspoken, powerful woman, and there are places and ways and times that I am even afraid to speak up. There are environments that we all work in that support a culture of harassment or a culture of any of those things that it's
inappropriateness.
Yes, of inappropriateness under the guise of humor, under the guise of all these things, or I'm just complimenting you. All of those kinds of things that it's like, smile. Yes, but you're, or why aren't you smiling, honey? Or, you know, all of those kinds of things that play into an overall idea of what the role that I am supposed to be playing as a woman. And if it's scary for me to speak up.
Yes, but the question, Tracee, is how is this measured? How do we make the punishment fit the crime for somebody who's saying, I was just complimenting you, versus somebody who is actively a predator?
But maybe there isn't an answer for that yet.
And once someone has been accused of this bad behavior, this inappropriateness, is there, do you believe, a path to learning and then overcoming those mistakes and doing better? Is there? Where is forgiveness in this?
I think there's a lot of room for reconciliation. I think there's a time to approach people and tell the truth and have them listen thoughtfully and meaningfully and apologize sincerely.
So once somebody's been accused of sexual harassment and loses their job, should they ever work again?
I'm not here to make that decision. I'm not a lawyer.
Just having a conversation for the world.
But this conversation, by the way, has caused a lot of arguments for me at dinner parties. There have been a lot of shouting across a lot of tables about this, because some people really feel like, no, that's it for them. And some people feel like they're not so sure. I mean, I was raised in a world in which I believe that there has to be a belief that people can grow, change, and learn, and know better. I mean, not if you've committed a crime. I feel like you need to go do your time for your crime. But I do believe people have to be able to grow, change, and learn from their mistakes at a certain point. There has to be room for reconciliation in a weird way. But a lot of people don't think that right now, and a lot of women have the right to not feel that right now.
And speaking of this moment, as a culture, we've gone from not listening, hearing, or believing women. And how are we going to skip over the whole part where women get to be heard and go straight to the redemption of the perpetrators?
Yeah.
Can't we live in that space where it's okay for perpetrators to be a little bit uncomfortable with what the consequences will be?
Can you speak to how the speaking out of your own truth and telling your story, because I think I was in the room the very first time you shared your story, Reese, and how has the speaking out of it actually led to a greater sense of empowerment and control over it?
Well, I don't know if I've gotten to that place yet. As you can see, I'm very emotional about it. But I keep going back to, somebody sent me this Elie Wiesel quote that said, silence helps the tormentors, it doesn't help the tormented. And neutrality helps the oppressors, not the oppressed. And there's moments that you have to evaluate whether silence is going to be your only option. And certain times that was our only option, but now is not that time. You know, we have public voices, we have resources, but women who are workers in this country have nothing to gain in certain instances by coming forward, but we want to help. Like, it gives me strength to hopefully help other women.
This quickly became, as I noticed in the room, not just